This is a serious, this is a life-threatening situation. There are people on their rooftops in Wimberley right now. That is Shoal Creek pouring into Lady Bird Lake. David, let's look at that. Look at that flow right there. Again, if you've just joined us, stay away from Lamar Boulevard in the downtown area. Shoal Creek is out of its banks. It is flooding House Park. I have never, in 25 years, seen anything like this. Look at Shoal Creek. Look at the football field. You can't see the football field. The water is into the bleachers. Somebody that appears to be holding on to a telephone pole. This is in real-time evidence of how dangerous the jobs that these men and women do who respond to flash flood situations. They got him. They got him out of there. Poor guy. Look at him.
He has to be exhausted.
He looks exhausted. He looks, oh, can you imagine how relieved he must be? He looks to be, I'm sure he's in some degree of shock right now. He was just in a life and death situation, and he has just been saved. It is obviously here, that long-predicted ocean atmosphere phenomenon lasting for months, El Nino. This one so powerful, some scientists are calling it Godzilla. This weather event can be beneficial, but also catastrophic. We're already counting up the storms here in central Texas, some devastating, even deadly. 4 in the last 4 weeks, and it's not even Thanksgiving. If past is prologue, get ready for a wild winter.
If you're just joining us, a tornado warning is in effect.
Friday, October 30th.
We have a confirmed tornado.
The Austin metro area wakes to tornado warnings. Travis County has now been placed in a severe thunderstorm warning, then torrential rainfall. 7 inches of rain now in Wimberley. By noon, nearly 15 inches of rain in southeast Austin. A rain rate so unheard of, it should on average in that area occur only once in more than 2,000 years. 3 people drown in the flash flood, and hundreds of homes are damaged or destroyed.
Stop left, hold your hover.
While extreme, it wasn't entirely unexpected. Evidence of a fully formed El Nino actually began a week earlier. Historic rainfall across Texas as the remnants of one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded on Earth combined with a second storm system. It happened over F1 race weekend in Austin. 8 inches of rain in the same area of southeast Travis County that would receive nearly twice as much a week later. Race fans from across the Pacific Ocean can blame the very water they flew over. Today, with buoys and satellites, science has sophisticated means of measuring and predicting this 2 to 7 year cycle of warming that stretches across the Pacific. To find out just what this El Nino is doing, we went to the NOAA Center for Weather and Climate Prediction in Maryland and learned this year's warm cycle may go down in history.
Right now it looks to be one that will be somewhere in the top 3. Whether or not it becomes the strongest we've seen, the second or third strongest is still to be determined.
And last week, the water in those El Nino regions of the Pacific became the warmest ever recorded. It's altering the atmosphere and the track of the jet stream. And if Central Texas is already seeing soaking rain from this pattern, what might the months ahead hold? One of the possible outcomes of El Nino is welcome, a refill of our Highland lakes. This is Lake Travis. It hasn't been full in 5 years. And upstream, Lake Buchanan was last full 7 years ago. And the floodgates beneath me and up on Buchanan Dam were last opened 8 years ago. But it's entirely possible with a strong El Nino that these lakes not only fill up, they go into the flood pool, something the LCRA is always prepared for, but people on these lakes may not be. No one can predict another El Nino Christmas flood of 1991. 5 floodgates releasing water as Lake Travis climbed to its highest level ever.
Please come up to higher ground with your valuables or anything that you can carry with you right now.
But the last El Nino, as strong as the current, took Lake Travis nearly as high again in 1997, requiring 4 floodgates to control the water.
People need to respect the force of this water. They need to respect the dynamic nature of these events and be very, very tuned into what's happening in their local area. It's not just keeping up with the news and the National Weather Service, it's also paying attention to what's happening outside their doors.
And it's not just people around the lakes and rivers that should be prepared.
Water up to here, to our waist.
What was going through your head?
are we going to live or not? Is it going to start raining?
In last month's flood, all 3 victims drowned in a creek that is usually dry. Its name, Dry Creek.
We survived. We're still alive, so we can't replace a life.
A rare flood on Bolden Creek stalled cars on South First at Barton Springs Road. Severe storms and tornadoes are also a byproduct of winter El Nino patterns, like the one that touched down south of San Marcos in that same storm, or in San Marcos in January 2007, or in Manor right before Christmas in the 02 El Nino. And if it's winter, you know it's going to be occasionally freezing cold. El Nino winters in Texas are typically colder than normal, and when combined with wet storms, create some rare icy, sometimes snowy weather. January the 15th through the 17th, 2007, a classic example. Ice and snow shut down Central Texas, leaving many without power. And the impact could linger beyond winter, well into 2016. Cooler and wetter than normal weather is predicted across Texas during every forecast period up to June. But before anyone decides to pack up and move, it's important to note there have been strong El Nino winters where little happened.
In the last several days, we've had cooler weather, and it gets people in the mood for the holidays.
Funny you should bring that up, because the term El Nino actually relates to Christmas. Peruvian fishermen in the 1600s noticed that there was unusually warm water appearing sometimes around Christmas, so they called it El Nino for the boy or the Christ child.
Interesting. Now we know. Jim, thank you very much. And Jim has a lot more interesting and important points about the Godzilla El Nino online right now at KXAN.com. Check out the video extra from Mansfield Dam while you're there. It's not often people get to go out on that structure, and Jim has an in-depth look at KXAN.com.
It's been the weather story around here for years. Drought and the summer heat waves that come with it. But change is in the air. Tonight, we have a forecast unlike any we've delivered in years. A scenario that could affect each and every one of us and welcomed by virtually all of us. Before we get to that, an in-depth reminder of where we are. And for most of us, it's a good place. For the first time in nearly 5 years, most of our Central Texas area is officially drought-free. Could this summer be a throwback to 2007? Brutal summers have become so common that someone who moved to Austin after the summer of 07 hasn't known anything else. Children born here in 2008, now in 2nd grade, have lived through 6 of the hottest 7 summers ever recorded in Austin since 1854.
It's really, really hot. It's unbearable.
And no one who was here will forget the summer of 2011. 90 days, 100 degrees or hotter. An average high in August of 105 degrees. And almost every other heat record shattered. But the approaching summer has the potential to be the solar opposite. The similarities to 2007 are striking. Heavy spring rains, our first El Nino in 5 years, and several climate model simulations all suggest a long-awaited reprieve is on the way. For those reasons, for the first time in 8 years, we are forecasting a cooler than normal summer. Make no mistake, there will be oppressive heat at times, but it shouldn't be as unbearable as in recent years. And it gets better. With a wetter than normal summer forecast too, it's possible, like in 2007, we might actually have some soaking summer rain. And tonight, even more evidence that something unusual is a real possibility this summer. New climate simulations say the Pacific Ocean may be getting so warm that we see the strongest El Nino since 1997. What happened that summer? Historic June floods in the Hill Country, causing the 3rd worst flood ever on Lake Travis. The lake was almost 75 feet higher than it is today.
So, Jim, is this a sure thing for this summer?
Never a sure thing, but with all these variables in play, it is hard to imagine that this coming summer will have very many 100-degree days, and pretty likely this will be the most tolerable summer since 2007.